welcome to the F1 Money Gang Podcast, Austin GP edition. Joined today by my good friend F1 Capper, and I'm your guest host this evening. Lights out F1 by bets. We are totally stoked because this time, a day and a half from now, the two of us will be together in trackside in Austin GP. We are totally thrilled. Today's show is brought to you by GridRival, and actually the Austin GP weekend will be a GridRival special. Yeah, like I said, we'll be trackside all weekend. Be sure to hop in the Discord for some live intel. We'll make sure to post it first as soon as we see Lance Stroll hit the dust or a Ferrari car blow up. But essentially all weekend long, since we're together, we plan to be doing shows each day of the race weekend, some from the track, maybe some from, the Airbnb downtown after the races are over, etc. Hopefully featuring some various guests, depending who we stumble into and rope into a podcast. But yeah, it'll be all about, for the most part, focusing on some grid rival lines, also some value on the sportsbook plays and the other pick'em apps, and really just featuring our friends over there. At Grid Rival, they're an awesome app. We've talked about them at length, but essentially they're the one and only sportsbook out there and fantasy app that is focused on motorsports first, building a ground up app focused on Formula One, MotoGP, NASCAR, IndyCar, and more to come. Love working with them. And for tonight's show, they already have some pick'em lines up. They're the only book with lines up besides Prize Picks pit stops. So we plan to give you some plays live between the two of us. We'll go over some nice lines we're seeing on Sportsbooks as well. Give you a day or so to book them while Capper and I hit the road and hit the air. And then we'll see you guys trackside for even more plays. So before I get into it, welcome Capper. Shaddy, how we feeling?
Yeah, man, I'm excited. I can't believe it's actually tomorrow. Feels like it was ways up to get to this trackside, but it's been a long time since I've been pre-COVID, I would say. So it's kind of a hometown race for me, I guess. So it's about a 3-hour drive. That's it. And then, I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to also meeting grid rivals. Most of them are going to be out there too. Weather's going to be nice. You'll be out there too. We're gonna get you out into Texas.
Yes, sir.
Might try to sneak some barbecue for you. We'll find a place. There's plenty of places, but we'll see when we can squeeze it in for you. But yeah, super stoked, man.
I love it. And for the viewers too, he's even trying to fit in a rec hockey game for me as a Canadian. So it's the kind of internet friend he is.
Yeah, I got a game Sunday night at 9:30. I had no plans to play, but now I'm thinking if we can make it back in time, you'll get another show. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Don't jinx us, man. We want a nice clean race. I want to see Max rip away from pole, and those people in our betting Discord that are on him to win for minus 400 on for 8 units.
I want them to pay out. You know what? They do have it minus 450 for me. It seems like I should do it, but yeah, they've been doing it all season. The smart ones in that Discord, guys. I mean, just get in. We're talking all sorts of lines. I mean, yeah, we're not perfect, but we are profitable for F1 for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think every single capper would agree. We've all kind of hit the end of season grind where the bookies have all the data and the trends on us, and it's hard to find profit, but there is some lines out there because it is a sprint weekend, just kind of transitioning into the weekend ahead. Yeah. Anytime there's a change up in the standard format, it tends to throw the bookies off that aren't paying attention, that are lazy and just stealing lines and are slow to adjust to news or performance on track, rumors, stuff like that. So that is one element that'll go our way. Love this track. It really feels like it's the US home race. Miami, it was like early season celebrity show off thing. And then Vegas is kind of like, oh my God, this is for us, the big coming out party for motorsports bettors. But really that one's a little more showy, midnight race on a, I would say less desirable street track, more about the performance. But this feels like a true race. It's on a dedicated track. How long has this track been around, Capper? Let's introduce Coda and go from there.
Yeah, 2012. I think it was like October 2012. That was my first time at an F1 race too, inaugural race. It's how I kind of got into the Merc bandwagon. Vettel was and Red Bull were dominating all the time. And he was the one that tipped me over to be more of a Mercedes fan. I was trying to go for the underdog. But yeah, like you said, the track it's got all the characteristics. You have elevation, you have high speed corners, low speed corners, long straight, I mean, you can even ask the drivers. They've said it numerous times that this is a track that they like because it just gives you a little bit of everything. And the best part, you can pass. There are passing areas of this track. So many opportunity, but it will be very hard on tires. Texas obviously is known for being hot. We do expect temps to kind of pick up again here this weekend. So how does that play into some of these cars, the drivers? We'll see. But yeah, man, it's like you said, Miami felt more like a fabricated, like we're trying too hard race. This is definitely a track. I mean, it's MotoGP, NASCAR races it. At one point, IndyCar had a race, but not here recently. But it's a circuit where every person wants to go and even take your own personal car, which I have yet to do and I will do. So.
Yes, sir. And no disrespect to Tegrity Bets, our trackside Tegrity in Miami. I think they're doing their best. You know, they're growing each year. It seems like they're figuring things out, but you can't beat a dedicated track. And like you said, it's been there for over 10 years. It really needs no introduction. It feels like it's been around longer than that. It's become a mainstay in the F1 circuit. And given that it was introduced in the early 2000s, Daniel Ricciardo is a massive favorite here. Seems like ever since his wrist injury, he's been focused on, at the very least, let's get back out in Austin GP. So yeah, with Daniel and other drivers, man, let's talk about what to expect from some of them. I'm just kind of changing gears to the GridRival app. And again, apologies to viewers. I'm looking at stale screenshots. I personally don't have the app available yet in Canada. I know it's coming soon, but in the states where the DFS and Pick'em apps are popular, make sure you get on GridRival and try out their Pick'em. They've kind of slow rolled it the last half of this season, and they're really refining their lines. I'm just looking at them. I'm seeing some value. Maybe we won't read them off. Let's just kind of go back and forth on who you like. Capper, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, like the ones that really so just all weekend I've been kind of gushing over Ferrari surprise, the painful one. So I think there could be presented value there. I will say I want to point out one thing that I don't know if it will happen. It could be I'm just spreading rumors, but Carlos Sainz, because he had that oil leak at Qatar, not sure if they're going to have to replace any parts because of it, which may cause penalties. We don't know, right? We'll see in FP1. Remember, sprint weekend, you get one FP session, and then it's parked for May. So, yeah, that one is something I want to pay attention to. But honestly, if there's one that really strikes me as I want to continue to fade, I'm nervous about it, is Albon. He has a qualifying position at 10.5. I mean, this car seems like it should be okay for them because of the long straights, maybe in the race. But as for pure qualifying pace, I'm not sure if he's going to. And then also it's going to be very competitive too, right? You got 2 Ferraris, 2 Mercedes, 2 McLarens, 2 Red Bulls. There's your top 8 right there, right? Top 10. So like, where does he fit into the mix right now? GridRivals has the qualifying position at 10.5, his race position at 11.5, but I'm focused on the qualifying position. So I'm tempted to take the worse 10.5 position, and he might just make that cut. That's one that just glares at me because we've talked about it in the past with some of the back marker guys. Bottas, Magnussen, Hulkenberg, the AlphaTauri's 15.5. They're all placed there. So it's kind of like a roll your dice on the field a little bit, but that's just kind of how I feel.
Yeah, I like these lines. They've kind of clumped them. Like there's, like you said, 15.5. There's a batch of guys. And then we have there's a couple guys 13.5. Then we have this 3-pack, Albon and the 2 Alpines at 10.5. And then I'm not looking at the other ones, but I want to say like 6.5, 5.5. And then a whole slew of drivers at 4.5 and some rivals. So yeah, that cleared out of me right away. Which one do you take? Which one do you fade out of Ocon, Gasly, and Albon? I like your play for qualifying. I think we're asking a lot for Albon to get to Q3 here. The tracks with the very long straights before the development, before we were super deep into the development cycle, Williams was they just had the efficiency to scoop up some points. It'll be interesting how they play the sprint qualifying, the shootout versus the Friday qualifying. But I think I agree with you. There's no real advantage to Williams here, compared to some of the other cars out there that have shown promise. Like I don't know if there's Alpine's been strong the last couple of races.
Yeah.
Ferrari has stepped up their game. You got to like Perez should make Q3. He did fine here last year. There shouldn't be any free squares on this track. Any guys sliding off or making mistakes. So I like that play. That's the first part of our little two pick here. Is Albon worse for qualifying 10.5?
Yeah. And then you talked about the lumping, and that's where I'm trying to bucket them, right? We have the 10.5s and then the 15.5s. And now they've moved Yuki to 13.5, and Stroll's now 13.5. So they're implying this week that, he's a little bit worse, because I think he had like 12.5 before. Yuki's better. So like, if you're going to make these cards, you are kind of using a hockey reference, skating on thin ice, because you don't know which one it's going to be. So you got to pick the one where, in this situation where Albon has always been priced higher in the past 4 or 5 races, he may not be where they expect him to be, because we know what to expect from a Hülkenberg and a Bottas. Like, Bottas might actually be the guy to play. But yeah, it's making sure that you pick that right driver. And that's why I think Albon, but like Perez very quickly, 6.5 is they're tempting you. They are tempting you. I will just tell you, if you are one that is a gambler, that's the one to take, because he may give it to you, but do you want to catch that falling knife? As I say, like, this could be the one, but we don't know. We've said that the past 4 or 5 races, and he's not succeeded there. So
Yeah, just quickly with Perez, it is unfortunate because we're getting closer and closer to Mexico. Austin isn't too far away at all, but it's unfortunate. Yeah, his performance, especially in qualifying, has really fallen off a cliff. I said last race that he's the front grid's version of Lance Stroll. Bookies and pick'em apps thought that Lance was like 10.5, 11.5, 12.5 qualifying line. He's been nowhere close to that. He's a Q1 guy right now. He's battling to get 15th. And Perez is the top grid equivalent to that. He's in the back half of that field, like 6 to 9 or 10. I think with the way that McLaren and Ferrari have come on, and obviously Max, the top 3 is definitely taken between Max and McLaren. And then at least one Ferrari usually has a ceiling performance, especially in qualifying. So for Perez, I feel like his ceiling is 5th, and that's mistake free. Lewis is the exact opposite, in a car that struggles, but qualified well, beat Russell here last year. The car is at least competitive enough to be midfield in Q3. I think that rival Hamilton versus Perez on GridRivals is actually really fair, whoever made that line. But you mentioned Bottas earlier, and he has a 2.5 handicap advantage to Yuki Tsunoda, of all people. Has Yuki
on
earned that edge?
On the matchups, you know what? I don't think so. And especially with how listen, it sounded like the car was better for them. I don't know if it was a track thing for them last race or what. Must be, because if you see both cars in a higher position, then the car is performing better, versus seeing split like a Alonso Stroll, right? That's a driver performance issue. So it's kind of seeming like Alpha is trying to make some strides, finish off strong, but again, it's a risky play. I think a lot of them are going to be risky plays this weekend. So it's a matter of what are you willing to take on. But
Alpha
yeah,
Tori, sorry to
yeah,
cut you off, Capper.
Yeah, go for it.
Just quickly, it seems like the driver motivation isn't there for AlphaTauri anymore. It definitely heated up, but then as soon as they confirmed 2024, while they have some car advancements, seems like the drivers have kind of eased off.
I kind of like that, actually, the Bottas plus 2.5 to Yuki for qualifying. Now that you call that out,
we need our resident Alfa Romeo expert here.
I know. Where's Tegrity?
They should be fine on Saturday, or I guess Friday in this case, but they should be fine for qualifying, right?
So we would hope. Here's what I'm curious about is Lando Norris 3.5 to Russell. So there's people that think that Mercedes will struggle. They are bringing a new floor, which could be a big hit for them, or just they stay the course and maybe in that wherever their positions are on like GridRivals. But Lando Norris is expected to be 2 or 3, right? If Mercedes is going to struggle or you think they're going to struggle, that one should be one to highlight for your card for sure. That's if you think so. If you think that, I don't want to play with that just because I'm tempted, but I want to see what is this new floor like before I place any kind of bets or any kind of wagers, because I don't think this will move a whole lot unless you see Russell comes out FP1 and absolutely nukes it and gets it into like first or second in FP1, and same with Hamilton. Then I think GridRivals will adjust that line. And then
it's an interesting one. Sorry,
going back to and then going back to the better or worse selections, the qualifying position for Lewis Hamilton, I think there's a correlation to, if you think Ferrari is not, if you are bearish on Ferrari, there's a correlation then with Hamilton and Perez at the 6.5 qualifying position. You got to take the better of it if you think Ferrari is going to be worse. So just my thoughts.
Yeah, solid. I was going to call that out. Yeah, the Sainz and Leclerc are the same at 4.5.
Yeah.
Sainz beat Leclerc here last year, but Leclerc traditional and a lot more this season. But Leclerc has been the traditional better qualifier. So it's interesting. There's only room for one, got to think.
And they're already implying this too for the race, for anyone that is just betting. They're gonna fall apart with their tire strategy, is what they're saying, because they're going to 4.5 and 6.5 versus Russell and Hamilton going 6.5 to 5.5. So they're implying Ferrari is going to have good qualifying, bad race. So as someone that may not care about pick'ems, this is actually a good way to gauge another market when it comes to betting markets too. Because then you can still judge what are the other books placing, here is or what the pick'ems are putting. So just something to, if you're betting anything. So
yeah, that's a good point. You can always use a Sportsbooks line if you trust them. In the case of GridRival, I mean, there's probably somebody full-time over there doing this for a living, so you got to think they're putting some thought behind it. So yeah, you can look early week really on all sports books like Bet365 and BWin, Camby Books, etc. You can compare their qualifying lines to their race lines and get a little bit of a game script, I think they call it in NFL, of what the bookies think will happen. So, and then base that on your own projections. The last guy I want to draw attention to from GridRival is Nico Hülkenberg, 15.5. So I don't know what bookies have against this guy, but he has proven to be a Q2 guy all season long, and they are bringing upgrades, however moderate they might be. You got to assume they're better than nothing. He's always been great in qualifying. That was my favorite play. It jumped out at me right away. Either Hülkenberg better than 15.5 or Hülkenberg better than Ricardo. Ricardo, once again, he's been off for a month and a half now, so he only gets one session and then he's straight into qualifying. Does he perform in that situation? He's obviously going to try flat out. These are professional F1 drivers. But is he a guy to back on Saturday over Friday after a little bit of rust? Hulk hasn't driven at this track. He missed it last year, so it's probably been 2-3 years. How long has it been since he's been in the league?
Yeah, it says it's been like 2018 or something.
Okay, but he has 5 years.
He's been on the track before.
Yeah, so. Exactly. And those sims. I expect qualifying should be no issue for Nico Hülkenberg, at least. If you are scared of Daniel Ricciardo's upside, then stay away and just take Nico Hülkenberg's better line. So to recap, you started us off with Albon worse than 10.5. And then I think we had consensus on Bottas over Tsunoda with the 2.5 handicap. So if Bottas can get 15th or 16th and Tsunoda's 14th or even Q1, then he's done for. Bottas did well here last year in qualifying. I expect him to reach Q2, and I don't expect Yuki to be like 11th or 12th. So like that Bottas line. Do we want to make a play on Sainz, Leclerc, or Hamilton? We can circle back on that one, but I have Hulk better on my card as well. And then if you want a fourth pick, what do you suggest we do there with those?
So you had Hulk better than Rick, Bottas over Tsunoda, Albon worse than 10.5, and then a fourth one. So I'm focused on qualifying. I don't want to do race. Make that cheese before the race. Man, I keep going back to what is Alpine gonna do? And I want to say Ocon. Oh, that's a tough one. 10.5 is tough. He's just right there.
Are you leaving the Ferraris?
If I'm gonna pick a Ferrari for qualifying, I'm gonna pick Chucky. I hate to say it. I think I'm struggling to see, like, is he actually going to perform better with the car? It seemed like he was doing okay, but I also don't know if it's just Sainz struggled at the track that he was at last week. But that's basically who he's kind of fighting, is his teammate most of the time. So my suggestion would be, if you don't like Leclerc and you're more for Sainz in this situation, take Sainz then. But mine, I might roll the dice with Leclerc.
They might both go under too. Like Piastri's,
they could for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's what the rival is. They're the matchup is Leclerc and Piastri, which is interesting. But
yeah,
okay. So we'll leave that off our card and just say better choice on Ferrari.
Can I confess? I would love to play that Lewis Hamilton 6.5. He may just end up right in that 6.5, or he performs better than expected and ends up 4th, 5th. I think that is one that I would probably take a chance on. I really believe it. I think he loves this track. He does. I think the car may struggle at times, but he may find it. Who knows?
He might maximize performance. Yeah. And especially those, you got to lean to those veteran drivers with only one practice session on Friday before quali.
Yep.
Cool. Okay. So we'll lock that in as our 4th then. Hamilton better. Cool. And so for the official record, I have Hulk better than 15.5. I think I like that more than Hulk over Ricardo. What do you think?
I do. It's less of a, there's more value in the 15.5. He doesn't have to fight one guy. It could be multiple.
Yeah.
Like, what if Ricardo does overperform, right?
Imagine you take Hulk and he finishes 12th or 10th and Ricardo's a spot
Ricardo,
above him.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what are you doing up here?
Yes.
Yeah, because he wasn't anywhere close last year in McLaren. But
you like the Bottas over Sonoda over the 15.5?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay,
because I think 15 or 16 is Bottas's line. But you have the edge of Sonoda totally choking. Like, Sonoda's floor is 19th, right? He's been known to botch a hot lap. Like, he'll post a what do they call it, where they just do like a moderately hot lap, a banker. He'll post a banker and then he'll choke on his hot lap. That happens often.
Yes.
So anyways, Bottas is the opposite of that. He's been Mr. Consistent. Although Zhou has been gaining on him recent, like short-term trend. The trend has definitely been Bottas. I think a cut above that back grid for most of the season. Definitely better than Sarge, better than the AlphaTauri, better than his teammate, and better than at least Kevin Magnussen. So yeah,
for sure.
Love that play. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Sportsbooks, man. What do you got?
Yeah.
We kind of breezed over these. We got 1 or 2 plays each, and we'll call it a night.
Yeah. Okay. So, again, I'm still trying to figure out. I'm tightening myself up as books have been tightening, so I haven't had a lot of pre-flop plays here. But one that I just can't get over, and we've discussed this at length over the season. It's the painful team, the Ferrari. But there's 2 ways to bet this. So the sprint top 8. So that means that you just got to get points. Ferrari is priced on Bovada right now for the sprint top 8 at -140, which I don't have parlay options right now for these types of markets. So it's the only option I have. But if you do have this option, you can actually take just Leclerc and Sainz at -300, parlay it, and you probably get the number down to like a -129. So it's a little bit more value. But again, it goes back to the car performance at a track like this is going to exceed the top. It's going to exceed at least, or fight, I should say, with Mercedes. And there should be no reason they don't get in the top 8. I just can't see in a world where they don't get that. It's a pretty competitive car. It should be Red Bull, McLaren, and then Ferrari fighting there for that third team spot. So they could even get into that top 6. So top 8 minus 140 or minus 129 if you parlay Leclerc and Sainz.
An important distinction there. So he's saying you can individually parlay the drivers and get better numbers. Sometimes the books are sneaky like that.
Yeah. I just did it quickly in the calculator, but again, my book won't allow me to do it. If you do have a book that allows you to do it, go for it. I'm paying a little bit of the juice because I will hate myself if they do get in the top 8 and I didn't bet it. So I'm going to bet it.
Yeah, there's no pit stops, and it's a short enough sprint format is so short that there's not enough time for them to screw anything up. So
it removes the variable of them fucking up a strategy call. Yes.
Totally. Yeah. And they need the points, right?
Yep, they do. Yep.
Awesome. I like that one. The play that I had was sprint 3-way drivers classified 18 and 19. I liked it last race in Qatar, and I was counting my chips when there was 18 drivers. And then Perez tried to go 3 wide, and all of a sudden there was only like 15 or 16 classified, and we let the books off the hook. I liked my bets last sprint race, but that accident in particular lost me like 8 units. And that's the variance we deal with in this sport.
Everyone was in pain.
So I liked the reads. I think we caught some bad luck, and I want to go back to a lot of those. The 3-way markets, I'm eyeing the middle on a lot of them. So things like 1 race leader, 2 race leader, or 3+. I like 2 race leaders in either one. I like
or the sprint or the race.
Either of them. Yeah. Like I haven't broke down which will happen more. I'd be shocked if there wasn't 2 race leaders in the actual race. It's just such a long race.
Yeah.
But then I'm also looking at win race margin, 4 to 8 seconds in the sprint, 6 to 12 seconds in the actual race. Everybody thinks 12 seconds is a shoe-in, but we're seeing a lift and coast strategy with Max. And McLaren isn't that far off anymore. Maybe that's Max nursing the car, but I think it is actually McLaren's drivers figuring it out. So the days of Max steamrolling the crowd, steamrolling the rest of the field, I think are behind us. I know it's an unpopular opinion. Everyone's taking his margin because they want to find a way to play Max. But I don't mind 6 to 12 seconds. It's usually a plus odds. I liked 18 and 19 classified. It was like plus 110, 120 last night, but it's nerfed down to minus 138. Don't love it as much, but it should still hit. You expect 1 driver to go out, maybe 2, but probably no more than that. Qatar was a shit show of a track. We're not going to have those issues of sliding around in Austin. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Yeah, that's about it. I got obviously Hulk over Magnussen. I went on my Hulk rant before where Sportsbooks are holding a grudge against this guy. Drivers like Bottas, and Bottas is probably the greatest example in that tier. He's like minus 300 to beat Zhou now. There's other drivers like Alonso and Max that are more like minus 800. Albon's another one in that category. I think Hulk belongs alongside Bottas, but for some reason he isn't there. You can still get him for less than minus 200. So I would take him over Mag in qualifying if you can find him anywhere close to like minus 150.
I like it. And then you said you actually like the 6 to 12 second margin.
Yeah, those middle margins, they're nice. Yeah. I mean, it's
okay.
If it's Max, it's gonna be north of 6.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just feels like you have more outs, honestly. 12 seconds, you're asking a lot these days with I mean, there's obviously like the always scary like pit for fastest lap. You could probably hedge by saying Max win qualifying, Max win race, and Max fastest lap if you wanted to play this one. Or 12 plus seconds, but I just really like win margin. I liked all those middle lines. They were sneaky value. I think people are going on the long side. The other one is qualifying win margin or FP1 win margin, less than 1/10 or longer than a quarter of a second to 250. Sometimes right in the middle, 0.1 to 0.25, or like Q1, Q2, where drivers don't do a super, super hot one in the top of the field in Q1. Those middle lines are sneaky. People have just been gassing the long side of the 3-way, like the one with the most margin or the least margin, and the middle ones have been accumulating value over the course of the season. So don't be afraid to look there. Obviously, we're getting creative as we reach year end. We're not going yes, no safety car. We're looking at actual classified 3-way lines and stuff like that, just to find stuff that's bettable. Don't be scared of the plus money plays this weekend. Ferrari fastest pit, that's another one. Leclerc had the second fastest pit stop. I don't want to totally steal the show with pit stops, but in Qatar, each driver had to do at least 3 pit stops. So we got a lot of data on the pit stop teams and how consistent or inconsistent they are. McLaren had, I think, 4 of the top 5 pits, but Leclerc was second, and he was the only driver that day. He almost stole that on us. So I would look to him because now McLaren and Red Bull are the favorites in that market. Red Bull hasn't been close on fastest pit for a while. Something going on with them. I like the value on Ferrari. It's probably going to be McLaren, but it could be Ferrari. And at north of plus 300, it's worth a small play.
I like it. I like it.
Anything else you saw?
Man, I was just kind of glossing through. They just added some free practice, some free money Friday. Maybe we can look at some of that. I know I just saw that one of our tipsters also was liking this, so I may back this. But Sainz top 3, might be able to find it at plus 280. T-Man, I should say, was the one that called this one out. He said that the most spots that he's seeing is around 125. Bovada has it at 225. I do like that for a top 3 play. It's a long shot, but again, don't expect that to hit. But one that really glared out to me as I was just browsing, and maybe it's just because I'm biased and I love Big Cat, but Big Cat Ocon over Daniel Ricciardo at minus 130 to hit in the first session. That might be one I actually might want to take on. You just called it out, right? You just said it. Ricardo is coming back into the car. He hasn't been in the car in a while. Maybe he's not ready. He's still going to be trying to acclimate himself in this first session. We know Esteban Ocon. He's Big Cat in FP1, so I expect that maybe he's going to kind of go balls out. I'm also being a little biased. I think I like backing Payne. Like I told you, I like backing Ferrari because the odds are always there in our favor. And we have Ferrari 2.0 in the midfield with Alpine. So this might be a play I will probably take on.
Yeah, well said. Ocon didn't do the greatest here in qualifying last year, so you got to think he wants to push and shake off the rust.
Yeah.
Awesome, brother. Thanks for your time this evening. So excited to meet you in person. And one and a half more sleeps.
Yeah. We'll see you Friday morning. I'll be there Thursday. But yeah, if anyone's out there in Austin, feel free to message us, get into Discord, message us on Twitter. I would love to meet you.
Awesome. Thanks everybody for tuning in. And like I say, we'll have content coming all weekend. So be sure to follow along. Join the Discord if you want the trackside live intel from us, or lots and lots of good live bets. And, last minute, 10 minutes before the race starts type bets. We got 10, 12 cappers in there, and a growing, thriving community of solid motorsports bettors. So F1 Money Gang is the Discord. That's the Twitter handle, the Discord, all the social handles. We'll have that in the show description notes, of course. Besides that, let's make some money this weekend. Capper, see you soon, brother.
Let's do it. All righty, man. See ya.